Monetization.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at gearwebsites.com.
And welcome everybody to our morning coaching show. Clover Tack and I have gotten together for, is that a word? Have got together? I don't even know if that's a word. We have been getting together for about a year now to chat about content creation. I think actually we started this thing getting ready for SHOT Show, which we should probably focus on once in a while again this year.
It's getting about that time. Yeah, probably by October anyway.
You should really be looking at places already. You should get your media credentials good to go, so you don't have to worry about it later. But anyway, we'll talk about that on a future show here soon. But we got together last year. We just kept doing it. So we're going to continue to do it. We're having a lot of success. Thanks to people for super chatting. It's not the reason we're doing this, but certainly appreciated. Neither one of us are making a fortune on this. So the time that we spend, we appreciate the appreciation of the time we spend here. But I think we both value this. And today we're talking about, I'll shut up. I'll say today we're talking about being a content creator. Where are you in your journey? But I'll take a break here and let Clover introduce himself and say, hey.
Yeah, just good to be here as always. Nothing grandiose on this side. Looking forward to this conversation, because that's where I think it's important to realize kind of where you're at, and because live in the present type thing, because we're told to and I don't know if necessarily we're told by some YouTube gurus, but quite often you are like, oh, look to the big channels in your niche or whatever, and like they're in a totally separate place than you. Like, why would you be looking to them to try to mimic what they're doing with 1 million subscribers or whatever, and at the same token, those that are smaller than you, trying to help them out sometimes can be a little bit difficult, because it's a little bit different for them as well. So, it's all a matter of the perspective that you have from where you're at in the present. And so it's really important that you understand where you're at. And hopefully we hammer home a few of those points today.
Let's see. So I've got a couple of first impressions here, but I think I'll just go straight into whatever the robot told us here. And we'll see how far off the robot is from where I'm thinking. This is episode 901 somehow. FYI. If you're a budding content creator or you're already on your journey but feeling a little lost, this video is for you. We'll be exploring the essential steps to becoming a content creator, as well as helping you understand where you are in your journey. In this video, we'll take a deep dive into 5 things: understanding your passion and niche, developing your brand, content creation basics, mastering search engine and social media, and monetization. It doesn't even seem like the same thing. So we'll discuss common pitfalls to avoid and share top tips for staying motivated and inspired on your journey. That seems like kind of odd. So I don't proofread these. I just assume the robot's always right and let the robot do this part for us. So if you're a budding content creator, so when I read this, steps to being, where are you in your journey? All right, I guess I was thinking like more the where are you in your journey, less of the we're going to tell you steps so that you can evaluate. I was going to say more of like, let's evaluate where you're at type of thing. But I guess, okay, so understanding your passion, developing your brand, content creation basics, mastering social and SEO, and monetization. I don't know. But to me, this just seems like a square peg in a round hole. But
yeah. I mean, I think it's a decent little outline. I disagree a little bit there with it when it says that we can try to tell somebody or whatever where they're at. You know what I mean? We're going to give you essential steps or whatever, and we're going to help you understand where you are in your journey. Yeah, we can help you, but here's the thing with all of this is when we're talking about tips and we're talking about strategy and we're talking about things, you're going to have to take that and kind of rip what we say and what we talk about down to its bare elements, and then reshape and mold those elements into something that benefits you where you're at, because it's hard for one creator to understand another creator. There may be a creator out there that, depending on their goals and depending on what they're trying to accomplish, they may be super successful, but outside looking in, it doesn't seem that way. And I'll give you a great example, is those that really rock it in the podcast realm. Which reminds me, I've got a podcast. I've got to get audio podcasts. I've got to get uploaded. But those that are really rocking it in the podcast realm, you look at their YouTube channel, and they may only have a few thousand subscribers or something, but they're literal gods in the podcast arena. And you wouldn't know that, but that's where their passion's at. That's where they've set their goals. That's where they're focused. And so it's important to understand that, because you would have people that potentially would come in and, oh, this is a little YouTube channel and they don't know anything about YouTube, and they're not successful. And it's like, yeah, you're talking to one of the biggest podcasts out there. So I would say they're pretty darn successful, not at YouTube, but that's not where they're at, right? So that's not their focus. And so I think it's really important, again, to understand um, where you're at. And hopefully, some of the things we'll talk about today help. There's, as far as um, the robot went. Let's see, understanding your passion and niche. We've actually talked about that before. Developing your brand. Developing your brand, I think,
Some
could
people
be
need a
could
brand.
be
Some people don't need to worry about this so
true.
much.
Yeah, developing your brand can tie into monetization a little bit. That could also tie into the mastering the SEO and social media a little bit. But as far as content creation basics, I think we're going to put these in order. Understanding your the passion and niche, content creation basics, then probably developing your brand, monetization, I'd say, and then finally mastering your SEO. And I say that because if you're going to master social media, you're talking about being able to amp up and ramp up your projects. Why not already have those monetization things in play before you try to blow things up? Because it makes no sense to blow things up, grow this huge audience, and then go, oh man, now I need to get some monetization on this thing. Well, why didn't you have those mechanisms while you were growing? Like, it makes no sense, because now that you've got that audience, are they past the point that they're going to help you and contribute and support you and do those things? Or are there at least a certain percentage, maybe, that you've already passed them up? So having those monetization before. So that's just the way I would kind of arrange the robot's points there.
Yeah, I think when I look at where are you at in your journey, I'm thinking of helping someone or discussing the concept of the I don't know what to call it, a path or the road or the amount of time you're going to be doing your project. Looking at that as a timeline and wondering where you are on that timeline. This almost seems like if you're standing at the 0 point or somewhere at the beginning, let's say, and you're mapping it out where you anticipate the timeline to lay. Is at least that's sort of the way I read this one. So I'm thinking of it, I guess, from more of a where are you, and this is thinking of it. This seems to be setting it up to more of a where do you plan to be, or in your journey, where do you? I don't know. So I'm going to say, instead of us trying to adapt our stuff to this, let's just use it. It's easy enough to just go with whatever the robot here said. And, we got plenty of topics. Like you said, we've hit some of these before. So I know people out there who got to take up. Some might be listening live or listening in the future who listen to other shows. Hopefully you got something to add to this. Feel free to use the comments here. That's what it's all about. That's why we do this live. Um, Understanding your niche and your passion. Okay, so we both agree that that's fine place to start then. So it says we'll start by identifying your unique interests and how you can translate them into engaging content that your audience will love. We're talking about firearms content creators mostly, people that are interested in what the Second Amendment supports. So understanding that to some extent, you know what you want out of things, you know what you'd like to see out of things, But I think having a realistic expectation of the playing field and the environment where it's been, where we're at, and where it probably is going is helpful here too. Because we're not talking about, if we're talking monetization, we're not talking about the easiest, smoothest monetization routes. If we're talking about growth, we're not talking about the biggest, most interesting topics so that the audiences aren't as massive as some other audiences might be for, like, let's say Hollywood movies or something. So these different elements in a firearms realm are going to have different expectations, but again, their value added to society is a whole nother level too, right? The value added to your own what's the word, like portfolio or your own list of accomplishments, what you're offering as an example to others in the next generation, like that value is, in my opinion, outweighed by the financial or the fame value that you're, kind of prohibit or you're stifled on in this realm.
Yeah.
Where you take this first one, understanding your passion and niche.
Yeah, I mean, I think that again, we're talking specifically in that realm of firearm content creation, specifically in the realm of gun tubers here. Can apply to anybody, but that's what we're speaking to. And I think that it's really important to understand where you are. Um, audience audience resonance is a thing, and especially when you're trying to grow. And so, when you're starting out, you've got to be able to provide a value. Okay, is your value straight up information? Is your value confirmation bias? Is your value support structure? Um, and what I mean by those things is, you don't have to be an expert. If you have just bought your first firearm, let's say, and it's like, okay, I just bought my first firearm. I want to start a channel and document this journey. Um, there is value to you, right? There's value to you in that in the moment. There's value to you because it gives you something to go back and look at, and it gives you a way to kind of focus on that aspect of things. But it also gives, um, just like it gives you the ability to look at that as an archive later on, it also gives the ability for other people to do that. And then as you're progressing and as you're doing that channel, um, if you present your content from that angle rather than you go in and you don't know anything and you pretend to be an expert, like this brand are the absolute best ever, bar none, in the story, and talking about doing that in a non-joking manner. And a lot of new folks tend to do that. They'll tout certain brands being the best, and like they've never experienced any other brands. Like you're new, man. You're green. You literally shot two firearms your entire life, and you're talking about that these are the only way to go. That's the wrong approach for you, and I think you're doing a disservice to the resonance with your audience when you start making comments like that or putting out videos like that or whatever. Now, if you're doing it in a joking manner, if it's satirical or whatever, then yeah, I mean, if we're ripping on each other, cool, not a problem with that. But I think understanding that lane that you're in as a new firearm owner, and I'm just using that as an example, as a new firearm owner, um, and bringing people along for the journey. You've kind of got that one-two punch. It's in a way it can be evergreen, but also in a way you're living in the moment, and I think that provides a lot of value to like-minded people. Now, that's the micro niched area. That's what a lot of gurus would tell you is niching down. And then in niching down like that, you're going to catch, like, depending on the firearm you're talking about as a new firearm owner, or depending on the range technique or the targets you're talking about, or, the gear or whatever it might be, you're going to catch other people that, have maybe a lifelong firearm owner like myself, that run across that video, but I'm interested in the firearm that you have in that video, or I'm interested in whatever it is that you're doing, and I understand the context that, okay, this person's probably not going to do it like me. He's probably not going to use the words I use or anything else. But then that also helps me in a way that can actually add value to me. Number one, um, purely for the entertainment aspect of, hey, I want to see somebody use that firearm. But it also allows me as a lifelong firearm owner to understand the mentality and the thinking and the way that those new firearm owners act. So when you get into it in that context and you think, hey, I'm a new firearm owner, and what do I have to offer? You have a lot to offer.
So you're not the only new gun owner, yeah. So when you're talking about the list of things that your content that may not be expert content, but is sharing your experience or sharing your journey, that's you're creating that, let's say, at a time in on the timeline, and there's other people that are either jumping on board or at least interested, or interested in watching your journey, so they're gonna follow that and either be valuing it or appreciating it in different ways. And that's your start. That's one way to start. That's one way to introduce your project, as well as share your experiences as you get into it. It can be pretty authentic and real. So there's that. And then you're on this path with other people, so you're going to find people that stick with you from that. And at least most people that do stick with something like that, they're going to have people that uh, kind of come along because they saw the beginning of it, I guess. Is that the way to say it? Like, they saw the beginning, so they're going to stick
Yeah.
with it. And it doesn't matter even if they're interested in what you do anymore. They're interested in you sharing your adventures. A couple of people years ago, some YouTubers started doing videos every day. So everybody wanted to emulate that, and a bunch of people in our communities or adjacent to them started doing stuff every day. And when that exercise results in your skill set becoming another level. A lot of people are going to go, "Oh wow, you're just so fast at editing," but again, you've done it so often that you're just not experiencing new things anymore, and you're able to
Yeah.
subtly adjust things that you don't have
Or you
problems.
figured
So
out
you're
the
able to do things
shortcuts,
quick.
right? You
Yeah,
figured out
exactly.
time
That's not
savers
what
and
I
the
say. Yeah,
shortcuts. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, you've just done it enough times that you're fluent in it. But same thing with your content. When you start, you're going to be, some level of expertise, and then you're going to get better. And there's some people that just like to watch that progression. It doesn't matter progression, whatever. You don't like. It doesn't matter what the topic is. They just might like you, the way you present, and that you're on a journey, and people will follow that. So you can remember. There's lots of reasons people are going to be participating in your thing, but I want to stop, because hopefully we're not just talking to new people all the time. And I know we're not talking to new people who are young. In fact, it's almost rare that you get young people that are even interested in doing anything. It seems like for a while there in the, I don't know, 2009 era, 2009 to maybe 2015, there were quite a few young people coming in and sharing, just being there, stand, all of a sudden you stand around and be like, oh, there's a 17-year-old standing here, a bunch of adults, and there's a kid. Right on. It's a kid that just figures out you can just start doing stuff. You don't have to wait to be told it's okay or whatever. But then it kind of ended, and it's been mostly adults doing stuff. And it took me a while to figure out that adults 40 years old are just getting into guns, or grandparents are just getting into guns. It's just it wasn't the way back in the day. You were either into guns or you weren't. So we weren't used to having adults be just now shooting a gun for the first time. So anyway, so I'm hoping that there's lots of people listening to this, and really would like to urge the people who have experience, who have time on the clock, who have been watching stuff and who have been part of this, to not be satisfied with what's out there. Every once in a while, you get some crotchety old drunk son of a bitch who starts to talk shit in a chat, and they're essentially saying expressing their frustration that the internet's mostly a bunch of new people figuring stuff out, and the world isn't a bunch of new people figuring stuff out. It's just that the new people are willing to share their experience. They're looking for help, right? They're trying to get feedback, right? They're trying to get help. If they don't have experts of their own, they're using the internet as a tool. Well, it's not the only use of the internet. So there are a couple of blowhards that act like they know everything, and that can be pretty annoying, and it can be off-putting for people that have something to add. But I guess what I'm saying is, I'm hoping that people that know what's up get off their ass and get a camera and start participating. It's super easy. There's a million ways to do it. If you're uncomfortable, it's on you now, because this isn't the beginning of the internet. There's about a million different ways to do it. Lots of different ways to get up to speed. And if you truly have something to add, then adding a new skill set like communicating on the internet should not be a daunting effort. So if you are not doing it because you don't feel you're contributing, or there was a need for you to contribute, well, I'm challenging that. So I just wanted to throw that on the other end. And then if you're too busy, if you've got such, you're so good at what you're doing, and you've got such a, growing in situation or project, then again, consider sharing that. At least if you're doing so well, pay somebody to archive it. Having people who don't know what they're doing but have time to archive their projects isn't a true representation of the world, right? So people that are accomplishing great things need to realize that they are missing out if they're not using the internet to share that, not as a bragging thing, but just literally to put history down so that people that are competent and are going to be coming on later can see that example, right? And understand that it's not all flash and bullshit and sponsored ads and shit. There's real people just getting stuff done, and that needs to be shared as well. So in that niche, I think is underdeveloped, and necessary.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know if I'm getting that one across, but
Well, yeah. The
I see a
only
lot
thing
of
I
people
would,
that think they know what they're doing. Like, okay, then share that, prove that, share that, and get it on the internet. Because if you have just amateurs showing their failures, that helps other amateurs, but it's not helping getting the ball moving. We need to keep the ball moving.
and I think it's important to put that out in a sincere manner. And the reason I say that is, quite often, and anybody listening to this chat live or in replay, you guys know where I stand. So, you know that I'm sincere when I say this, but oftentimes somebody will say something, you'll get some kind of comment or you'll get something, and I'll say, hey, if you can do it better, turn on the camera and do it better. And they see that as a smart aleck reply. They're just being a smart aleck. And I'm just like, no, I could not be any more. I could not be any more serious. And if you know me, you know I'm serious. Like I tell everybody that. Turn on the camera. Like document your stuff to get, you never know when there's an audience out there that's going to resonate with your style of delivery or your journey or what you're doing. So I'm 100% sincere when I tell people to do that. Now, is there a little bit of smart aleck there, depending on what the comment might have been? Sure. But I'm definitely sincere. I don't, people need to turn on the camera. This whole idea, and I think that it gives you a whole different perspective. For those that are out there that are listening that do put content out, the struggles that, especially with firearm content creators that we face a lot of times, and you know, once you step into the arena of a content creator and you see all the things that content creators actually have to deal with, because outside looking in, it can look like fluffy bunnies, roses, and rainbows. But, once you step into that world, you realize real quick there's a lot of stressful things going on. There's just issues flying all over the place and tight wires you have to walk and everything else. Um, and it can really open your eyes and evolve. Let's just say your perspective. I don't want to say change your perspective, but it involved it. So, um,
I
well,
don't
we
want to
ready
make it
to?
seem all that tedious, because at the same time, somebody who's competent, this is all just electric
Mhm.
issues and like, bullshit community, like bickering type of issues. Like in
Yeah.
reality, it's not getting supplies, it's not having materials jump up in price. In fact, if anything, the internet gets cheaper and cheaper. Technically, there's more options, and it can be a pain in the ass to keep track of it. But again, like digital stress, like not real stress compared to people that are successful in real life. So again, I challenge them. You're so good, get out here. And when I say it to people, no, I envision me getting up, stopping the conversation, taking a glove, and officially slapping them in the face as a
Right.
challenge. You're so fucking good, then get up. Like
Uh,
you can't just say you're so freaking good and then just sit there.
right.
You're not so freaking good. Then you're just some blowhard blabbing,
Yeah.
interrupting the pace. But if you do have
Right.
something to add, get competent and get in here. And if you can't get competent, pay somebody who's competent. There's tons of them, and they deserve your money. But yeah, we have different approaches on that one. So then developing. Oh, well, let's see what kids are saying here. And in the live streams, new gun owners help others learn. For every newbie question that we answer,
Yep.
there are a handful of others who didn't know the answer but were afraid to ask,
Yep.
I suppose.
Well,
Kind
and
of
there
depends on
also
your
can
audience,
be.
when we're used to having our audiences around, and the level of interest and expertise and that kind of stuff. There's, think about guns and gadgets audience in the spectrum there. um, I suspect it's going to be a similar ratio, but when you've got 1,000 people instead of 100 people, now you have 25 experts. And if they're just shutting up and watching all the amateurs spout out, then what good is that? Those experts should, I'm challenging those experts to get in there and, throw valid points of view in there, challenge things that are sketchy, get people on course, right? We're in this together. So is it, we're observers in an audience watching each other fail and doing that for Bloomberg, or are we all in the same team trying to get better? Anyway, I guess I'm going off on a rant here.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. I would push back developing your brand. Let's tackle content creation basics next.
All right, it says we'll go over the tools and skills you need to create high quality content consistently.
Mhm.
Content creation basics. Well, we're not going to go over those tools. We're just going to suggest, yeah, there's definitely schools, techniques, tools that allow you to hone your skills and your techniques. I would say is important to create high quality content.
Yeah.
Um,
And
what are
don't
we
be
even talking about?
afraid.
Where you are in your journey. If you're sitting around thinking about that, then you're not on your journey yet. Is what
Right.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Like, so where are you at in your journey? Are you developing your skills, right?
Yeah.
Where are you at with your skills? Did you have a goal at the beginning? I want to have 3D rendering under my belt. I want to be able to design my own stickers and logos and stuff, by the end of the year. I want to be able to, make enough cash with the project to be able to afford the Adobe software that everybody says is so good, or I'm going to master DaVinci and the other ones that allow you to do essentially the same stuff for free, but,
Yeah.
take the same amount of time to learn.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would think of the basics. I'm not talking about like here's the beginning roadmap and here's the things you need on your
Yeah.
list. Like, where are you? Have you decided where you're at on your map? Do you have the things you needed on your list? Are you carrying around, when you're a little kid going camping for the first time, what are you carrying around? All kinds of dumb stuff your mom decided to put in your backpack. Hopefully by the third or fourth trip, you've decided what you need and you're not carrying around stuff that your mom thought you might want. Right. So where are you on your trip? Where are you when you started this whole thing? Who was packing your bags? Did you use all this stuff? Right. What are you holding on sentimentally? Right? Whatever the word is, or what are you holding on to, or what should you be letting go of, and letting you get to the next level, or quit using that software so you can start using that software.
Yeah. I
Where
think
you see content creation basics.
so. So I'm a big fan of, and maybe it's the 4-H in me because that's the motto of learn by doing. Um, I see so many, and it's not necessarily aspiring firearm content creators that they use things as a crutch, like you're talking about with the journey, to never really start their journey. It's like, oh, I'm waiting on this. I'm waiting to learn this. How many times I joined the Facebook group, obviously yesterday that you've been talking about, and I've seen so many things. Oh, I'm here. I just came in. I'm interested in this. I came in here to learn. Like, why aren't you doing it then? Like, what the crap? Like, I get that you come in and maybe look at a community and get an overview or something. Okay, cool. But you're going to come in and fly on the wall and sit around and sit in every workshop, creative workshop, and everything else you can for days, months, weeks, years, whatever, before you actually start your channel and start to actually try to experience things and do stuff. And that's not the way to do it, I don't think. And the reason I say that's not the way to do it is because if you don't start doing it, if you don't take those steps and start off in that direction on your journey, then you've got no what is the word? Um like you've got to have that in order to get some kind of
Experience.
perspective, right? Like,
To get experience.
then when you see other people doing things and you hear advice from other people and you all this, you can relate it to something until you have at least some type of foundation, yeah, which I guess would be experience. Some type of foundation. You started off in that journey a little bit. You're like, oh, okay, I know what this person's talking about over here now with this. And if you haven't done it, then you don't know what they're talking about. Like you may on a um whatever, on a certain level, okay, I mean, you may have a general idea, but until you've actually walked in those shoes and experienced that, you don't have any idea. So, yeah, I agree with what you say, G, that you definitely need to get out on that journey. From there, again, there's tons of free tools. There's tons of tools that are priced right as far as tools to help you go, and you're going to learn things. I learned something about my phone last night that I've been using Samsung phones for I don't know how many years, and I don't know how many years it's been a feature, but hey, I learned it. So we can all learn something new. That's not exclusive to newbies, to people that are turning on cameras for the first time or whatever. So understand that there's nothing wrong with you've got to learn this, or there's nothing wrong with going, oh man, I feel silly because you know I've looked into this and I thought it was hard and it's so easy, or whatever the case may be. That happens to everybody. And that don't mean you're a moron. That doesn't mean you're an idiot, right? And as far as building the skills, the issue with building the skills is it's repetition. Doesn't matter if you're hitting a baseball, shooting a basketball, pulling triggers, whatever the case may be, it's repetition. That's how you build skill. And if you don't start your journey, how are you ever going to get the repetitions in, like working out in the gym or whatever? How are you ever going to get the repetitions in order to build those skills? So taking that step, taking those first steps, walking that first mile, whatever, as a creator, um, is super important towards the goal of figuring out those tools that they exist and learning those skills.
I think I was going to say that with the camera thing, I forget your example, but I think the backward applies too, in respect that if you're new and you're figuring out your camera and you figured out whatever Clover figured out on his camera, and now you're comparing yourself to Clover 25 hours ago when he didn't know about that camera thing, and he's walking around like, I have all the experience in the world and I know how to use a camera, and here's how you use a camera. Well, you don't even realize that you know how to use a camera better than him or different than him or at a faster way or a way that gets you a result quicker or whatever. So, value your voice, value your sight, your insight. It's a tough thing when you're young because you don't have any experience yet, right? You don't have anything to put that into perspective, but you got you want to be right. You're young. I'm assuming kids are still like that. You want to be right. So you got to bet on yourself once in a while. You're going to fail every once in a while. You're not 100% right. Nobody is. But, realize that not everything new is the way to go, but every once in a while, something new can save a bunch of time. And don't listen to every old person who isn't paying attention to the new stuff. Now, if you're listening to an old person who tries everything new the beginning of the year, evaluates at the middle of the year, and then gets work done at the end of the year and then repeats that cycle, don't expect to go up to that person and challenge them on their like ability to understand tech. But if you're talking to
Yeah.
somebody who's done the same shit 17 years in a row, realize they're probably not out there worrying about how to do that shit. They're just doing the shit 17 years in a row. So that's what I was kind of saying there. But I agree that going forward, you got to not wait. Just, get on there already. And I'm going to try to, because I think I figured out what my problem is with this one. When it says steps to being a content creator, what I read was where you are in your journey. And then it's kind of going at it with the steps to being a content creator. And that's where I'm getting tripped up. I'm looking at this as like, let's have a discussion because I'm thinking of all the different people that are listening to this. Where are you at in your journey? Everybody we're talking to is at a different place, right? So how do you have that discussion? And then they start off with, here's some steps. Well, I don't care about the steps. I'm talking about where you're at on this timeline, not what the timeline
Well, you don't.
indicates.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's
So
the
when I'm
problem I have. That's the problem I have with the big YouTube channel gurus. They're casting a wide net. They're giving out a lot of good foundational information, but the specifics of the way that applies to the individual creators and where they are in their journey, you're right. It's disingenuous and it's a disservice to them. So that's why I said early on that as a aspiring potential green whatever a creator on wherever their journey they may be, it's up to that person to take that and go, you know what? Okay, that's a really cool chocolate cake. But thing is, I don't really care for a chocolate cake like that. So let me work some alchemy magic and break this down into its raw ingredients, and I'm going to make something else with it that is more to my liking.
an
So,
analogy doesn't hold. Who doesn't like chocolate cake? You have to go with a different one. That seems right.
well, that's called creating controversy, right? And taboo and drama. See, and that's another tactic, and that's another skill that you learn as you become a content creator. You learn how to create drama.
So I was also throwing in there the starting versus middle versus you've already done it before, and to challenge folks on that. So, or at least challenge you to think about where you're at on this. We each have timelines. You know, you're learning, I don't know, something, some software, some how to use a camera, how to get familiar with material enough so that you can talk about it with some kind of interesting ways. And all the way through it, or sound like you're just reading a script or something. Whatever it is that you're efforting on, right? You've got some kind of path, a start, middle, and end. I keep calling them a timeline, wherever you want to look at it as. But where are you at on these things? And you've got value all over the place on that. Again, starting, we kind of talked about that. I don't like to think of everything as let's talk to the beginners, because that's got to make old timers get bored of it, and people in the middle just don't always care about who's starting the race. You need some support while you're in it, making decisions on which way to go. Am I using the tool too long? Should I start a new tool? Is this bicycle too bad, or should I start a motor? I don't know. I'm using bad analogies, but I also wanted to challenge again the folks that have already done this. Uh, you've done things a lot of times. We've in our projects, we've done things, maybe evaluated some software and written it off, or accomplished something and got a result, ran a podcast series and ended it. Whatever the projects are that we've done, we've accumulated a bunch of them, but how often do people go back and reevaluate, decide if something's worth doing season two, see if it's now with my new skill set, should I pick that thing up again and have at it? I tried to build that banjo when I didn't know how to do what's woodworking, but now
Oh
that I've
yeah,
built 15 guitars, maybe I should go try a banjo again.
yeah.
So, again, I'm just trying to get not so much inspire people, but just again challenge folks who might think, and,
Uh-huh.
and I don't even know if this is a thing, because they
There's
don't have the decency to come back and even complain or nothing. But I suspect some people, because I've seen so many people come and go, some people might come along, try something, have some success or failure, but then go, okay, well, I'm gonna go off and do my motorcycles now, or go off and do futons or whatever. So you got that. You don't. This isn't. You only get one chance. You can. It's the internet. You can do things as many times as you want.
yep.
You don't have to beat a dead horse or nothing, but there is potential after you've created more abilities and skills, you've got better tools or whatever, or just a different world, right? It's a different environment of people. Try something out again. Try to
So
think something, putting some. Oh, God, I'll let you go.
yeah, I've got a good example with this. So first of all, done is better than none. So there's nothing wrong with getting a video out there. I mean, again, repetition and skill building. Um, I would say that um, definitely you definitely want to go back, and it's cringeworthy when you start doing it. Go back and look at your early catalog, right? You've gotten 100 videos under your belt. You've gotten 200 videos under your belt, whatever. And you've progressively gotten a little better at delivery, production, just all the different skills that and maybe even equipment upgrades that have helped with that. Um, and go back, and here's the reason why. I had a video that for the longest time was one of my most popular videos. Um, it was pretty evergreen. It was delivered pretty well for the time with the equipment I was using and the technology available in the industry, and talking about the firearm industry, because it was about scopes and everything else. Like, really, first focal plane wasn't a crazy thing with scopes at the time, and lighted reticles and stuff like that, which would affect the presentation, right? The old presentation. And I wrestled with for a long time, like, should I redo that video? Should I redo that video? Not take the old one down, but just make an updated version. And I did. And it is one of my best performing videos. Um, you know, and why? Because I took something that I knew was providing value to people already, but was delivered in an inferior way compared to my skills and equipment and everything else currently, and basically rebooted it. We're so used to Hollywood reboots that generally suck that um, we don't think about that idea very often. But going back and revisiting something that's several years old or something like that, um, and adding information into it, elaborating more, using again the knowledge and the skills and the expertise and the experience and everything else that you've gained over the course of those years or whatever since you released that, um, can end up producing. a vastly superior product that does even better than, even if that video didn't tank. Obviously, if that video tanked, you could only do better. But even if that video did well, in my case, you can still produce something that does even better. So I think um, yeah. So I think it's important to be paying attention to where you came from. I guess is what I'm getting at. Be aware of that.
I'll just happen some links out for after the show. People that might want to jump in on the Instagrams. So then we're going to move on to developing your brand.
Yeah, I think that would be next in my progression of those bullet points. Yeah.
Learn how to develop a unique and recognizable personal brand that will set you apart from the crowd. I'll just start it with brands. I don't think you need to have a brand. A brand. I don't think you have to have one. You can have as many as you want.
You got
But
multiple catchphrases, multiple little avatars and quirks, and yeah, but that's all a brand, right? When you look at,
well, I mean, channels, to, projects. Have a big
oh,
thing
this is
going on
true.
TikTok.
Yeah,
Have something else.
yeah,
Motorcycles happening on YouTube, and then do something with cooking
yeah.
on TikTok or on
Well,
Twitter.
it's the
Yeah.
same. Do you think PepsiCo just sells Pepsi, right?
Yes.
Like it's that mentality, right?
Yep.
You've got companies that have various subsidies, and yeah, in a sense of brands plural. Um, Yeah, but I think be mindful early on that brands plural is even a thing, right? G, because if you brand in a way, I think it's possible, right, that you could brand in a way that doesn't give you that umbrella. I don't want to say protection or that umbrella coverage. So when you're starting out, be aware that that's a thing. And since we are kind of starting about talking about starting out here, be aware that that brands plural is a thing, and that if you start out, that's why I was really really
Well, I don't want to just
thankful.
talk about starting out. That's what I'm raging against. So, what about
Uh,
understanding your brand? Where are you at with developing your brand? Have you let that lax? Is that something you monitor every show, or are you something
well,
that
you
you're
could always go back and create that umbrella once you have multiple things going. I suppose you could tie it together with that umbrella after the fact. I guess that's true.
I don't know what you're saying, umbrella. So I think you can have a motorcycle YouTube channel and a cooking TikTok. And they don't have to touch each other. I don't think, for taxes or something, they probably have to touch each other. But you know what I'm saying? I don't think that everything you do online has to be touching each other. Sometimes it helps. If you've got a shooting channel and I don't know, a channel that's about hunting or something, right? Like those could help. Those could be beneficial or whatever. But
But I think more importantly, I think we got off on a little bit of a tangent there anyway. I think more importantly, when we discuss the brands, you know, what are those, what is the imagery? What is the artwork going to look like? I mean, when we think brands, man, whether it's the firearm industry, whether it's food, whether it's whatever, I mean, think of the jingles, think of the slogans, think of you know, all the little quirks. I say stuff all the time from like other channels that I watch that are not even firearm related, but super easy, barely an inconvenience is one that I use all the time when like a problem comes up or something like that, because that's like a catchphrase line from a totally other channel, and I don't use that on my channel. I say that personally, um, or you know, um, yeah, just all kinds of there's little catchy things. So that's a part of your branding. So realize that when you say something or you have a piece of artwork or you do something, and you're doing it in a video, and you get reaction to that, right? Um, take a look at that. Stop and think about that for a minute, and then go, "Hey, wait a minute. Okay, is this something that I could own? This something that could become a part of me, and I use it consistently." And if you have a thing, whether it be artwork, a saying, a slogan, a jingle, a shirt you wear, a specific style, delivery style, whatever it might be, all of that is branding. and all that plays
And
into the
there's
brand.
an element of, are you creating that, or is it you just letting it happen? Sometimes, it's fine, let something happen
Yeah,
naturally, it's funny or whatever, but then are you at the mercy of just whatever's funny at the time?
that's true. I think it's a combination of a few. I think because I know with me with branding, some of it's come from viewers and stuff out there. It's come from colleagues. Some of it has been deliberate and intentional on my part, because there's undertones or there's other meanings in the things I do or say. From again, some of the artwork to actual lines that I say in videos. Um, there was a point I was going to make about that. It was a fleeting thing, and maybe if I think about it, I'll hit on it again. That dealt with branding. Dang it.
Well, I'll hit with unapologetically arms, hashtag gun free zones have got to go, uh, branding. And then Ghost says, not taking yourself too seriously is a must when it comes to branding. Your audience will give you ways to brand things if you are willing to listen and have fun with it.
Yeah,
It
I think
implies that
so.
you listen to your audience, I guess some
This
people
is
would.
true. This is true.
All right, so that'll take us to mastering SEO and social media.
Do you think
Social,
that? Do you think
but,
that comes before setting up your monetization avenues or thinking about those monetization avenues?
I mean, I
'Cause-
hate this whole like rigid thing, so I'm down for putting in a different order.
Yeah,
So we'll go monetization
and the
next.
reason I say is the social media, the working on SEO and working on your social media presence, that amplifies everything you've done previously. And wouldn't you want your monetization mechanisms amplified? Like I would, but that's just me. And I'm just pointing that out because it's a part of this conversation and things people need to be thinking about.
Do you think there's a reason that the robot put monetization last? Because the robot is just copying everything that anybody's ever said really fast.
Uh-huh.
So is that because everybody puts monetization last and it just assumes we should, or is the robot trying to
I
push
think
that?
I think monetization, and we had this discussion a little bit privately, I think last night. Monetization, I think, is in a lot of ways is first of all, the vast majority of people who create content out there are not monetized. Either because they're not putting in the time and effort and work, or they just don't feel that they want to, or that's just not a part of their overall journey. There's various reasons. But the fact is, the vast majority of content creators in general are not monetized. So I feel that may be part of it. The other is monetization tends to have, and goes more to what we were talking about last night privately, but monetization has a taboo around it as well. And it really shouldn't. Um, but it could be either or both, or maybe those included with other reasons. That's why the robots thought that should be last.
Yeah, but I am down with putting it in your process earlier or including it more integrally in your process,
Right.
and not wiping monetization on the outside like a wrap or a skin or something.
hmm Right. Yeah,
Because yeah,
built in early, right? Like, first of all, you don't know, and I've said this to people.
well, our whole next week's show is monetization, FYI. So that's kind
You
of
could
a
have, yeah, we won't go too deep in, but you could have, I'll just speak in a generality or just whatever, just things to think about. But you could have 10 subscribers, 10 viewers, regular viewers, and there may be one of those, that's all you have. And there may be one of those that if you had a, a whatever link in a description somewhere, and you wouldn't even necessarily need, need to talk about it. Like they want to support you so bad, they're literally looking on your website or looking in your description for ways to support you. And that person may be a sugar daddy or a sugar mama, and they may want to support you with hundreds of dollars a month. I mean, it's not impossible that that scenario exists. There is a certain probability, and so if you don't have that mechanism, those monetization mechanisms in play, then they're not able to do that. And then the second thing is, like I said, when we were following up this obviously with SEO and social media and blowing up the content and the brands and the things that you're creating, um, is you want that in play because you don't want all of a sudden you've got this video going viral or you've got this project going viral or this thing is really exploding and growing on you and you're like, oh crap, you know, I could have put a link to so and so in there, did this or did that, and that could have led to, money, which helps pay the bills, which helps buy equipment, which helps get you to trips, which to shows, which just all the different things that we need to do in life, not only related to our channels and our projects necessarily, but um, and now you're scrambling because it's there is a time constraint and a time crunch. So while you're growing, while you're building things out, be thinking about those monetization mechanisms that you can inherently build into those projects early. And then when that happens, all you have to do is point and go, "Hmm, yeah, I've got that right over there. I've had that, it's ready to go. It's set up, like deploy it." Right. Um, and I think will, that lessens the work on your part. And it also could alleviate a lot of stress and frustration later on down the road.
Let's just add that
And
since we'll be talking about it again,
we'll stay out of specifics on monetization. So
I'll just say that, since we'll be talking about it more next week, bring in questions or throw stuff at us over the week so we can talk about it then. But being adaptable to change and understanding that things are fluctuate and things, have trends and cycles and all that. And things are linear sometimes, like some things will just die out. And you can't be at the beginning of every ramp up either. So having realistic expectations and strategies and having multiple strategies and what's the word for oh man, there's a word for it when something might fail, having alternatives for that. Uh,
redundancy.
yeah, but there's another word for like preparing for a redundancy. Anyway, so yeah, redundancies, but having multiple things that aren't necessarily just to have multiple things, but multiple things that are three legs of or four legs of a stool, so that it'll always stand with three or something like that. Um, and that's possible again if you're actually thinking about it. Gizzard makes a good point here. You want to bring that up, so I don't have to read them all. Otherwise,
Yeah, he says a lot of people mistakenly believe not monetization. That monetization means that you're making a profit. For the vast majority of us, monetization is a way to fund the expenses for what we do. And I would say that's good, Gary. I would change one thing in that. Bring it back up, G, if you don't mind. Um, I would change one thing in
contingency
that.
was the word I was looking for. Thanks, Gizzard.
I would change one thing, instead of say monetization is a way to fund the experiences for what we do, I would say monetization is a way to offset the expenses for what we do. Because the vast majority of us, um, yeah, we're doing pretty good. I mean, I focused a lot on money, and we're going to that next week probably with some specifics. But I focused a lot on the money side for 23. That was one of my goals. But even with the focus and even with the success that I believe that I've had in 23, and some of you out there listening, I know, has had good success as well. Um, it's an offset. It's not, it doesn't cover it. So, just keeping it real in that sense that, yeah, most people, they think that, start a YouTube channel or you whatever, or you become an influencer and you're just rolling in the cash. And what's worse is they think you're doing that without doing any work. Like you're not working 8, 10, 12 hours a day being an influencer. All they see is the finished 30-second TikTok or 4-minute YouTube video a week or every day or whatever. And they think, oh, he only works 4 minutes a day. And it's like, yeah, you don't realize that it's 8 hours of prep work to do a 4-minute video, you know, and then plus all the other stuff you got to do on top of it. So I think that's what lends to that belief that Gizzard is pointing out. But yeah, it's even, let's see, is it better or worse? Yeah, uh it's even less of, well, I don't know what I was going to say, but when I was changing the word to offset versus fund, It's not
Oh,
even as
there's more
good as
to
what
it than that, because
people
unless
be.
you're exploiting the situation, then you're not even talking about the time it takes you to just prep and take away from your
Oh
other
yeah,
things, if
oh yeah,
that's your 9 to 5 or if that's your family or if it's something else. And then you got to pay taxes, and you got to do figure out the taxes and all that. And that's, at least for me, it's a pain in the ass in my time. I don't enjoy doing that stuff. So
yeah. Making money can cause more work, right?
well, no, having the ability to spend time on stuff that you value does require, unless you're independently wealthy or have sugar mamas, a bunch of sugar mamas just paying our bills would mean that we could just spend time on whatever we wanted, which would be pretty awesome. But in reality, you still gotta, pay the bills and whatnot. So if you're going to take time away to work on something that takes a bunch of time, then yeah, to offset that is, I guess, the
Well,
way
and
to say it.
there's
But I'm just saying, be realistic there and understand that you can do it as a hobby that grows, or in 2023 you can watch or learn from the experience of hundreds if not thousands of people who have shared their experiences and successes and failures. So you're kind of describing it from the one perspective. I'm going to use it from the perspective of someone who understands they're about to put an amount of effort into something, or have been putting an amount of effort into something, and how to just make that practically more useful,
right.
practically more able to do it
Well, and
more practically. If you're
and
walking away from an hour's worth of effort and you're adding to your family's value, you know what I mean? That's different than subtracting an hour's worth of time from your family's value. That's what I'm saying.
yeah,
That could be in
and
multiple different ways. That's why I'm not saying bring a paycheck, because there's lots of different ways that, if you're
yeah.
bringing your family together in the project, like, come on, man.
Well,
I mean,
do
that's priceless is what I'm saying. That old priceless thing. Like, you can spend a bunch of
yeah,
money doing something, but if the result is your kids have spent time with their parents longer and, it's out of their phones, yeah,
yeah.
come on. And you've inspired others that they can do that stuff. I mean, we're talking gun stuff here. What's gun stuff? Taking kids to the range. What are we
Yeah.
talking about here?
Staying general on Gizzard's point here for a second. Um, Nothing is free. So where we're talking about, a product sent for review, people, and this, oh, it gets my goat more than anything that somebody goes, oh, you just got something, you got that free. How many? I had it at the gun shop a couple weeks ago. How many free guns you get? And I'm like, I don't get any free guns, Jack. Like, come on, man. Anyway, because with anything that you receive, compensation, where we're talking monetization, whatever, there are strings and there's ties to everything, right? Um, there's also a certain amount of stress involved too, I guess. But understand that whether it's fan funding, and most of the folks out there that super chat, that there are members that are patrons, and by the way, you and I both have those mechanisms set up, and we appreciate all of our members and patrons and super chatters and all that. But there's a certain amount of, even no matter how hard you fight it, there's a certain amount of obligation that's felt. Like, I feel like I need to do something extra for those folks. And for the most part, they don't require it. I've polled and had put out polls on that on the fan funding side of things. And for the most part, people don't require it. They support because they want to support. They like the existing stuff that you're doing. They're not supporting to get extras, but they're still, as far as a creator, that can create that sense of obligation, because nothing in life is free, right? Or you just get it for nothing. The same thing with, if you're getting ads on your video, well, okay, then you got to start paying attention to, that's monetization. Then you got to start paying attention to policies and stuff to keep the ads on the videos. If you're talking about sponsorships, you got to do whatever the agreement is for that particular sponsorship, right? So there's a lot of things that go into the monetization as far as obligations go, that I think it's just a general point I wanted to make before we closed out monetization, that while some people think, oh, creators just rolling into money, blah 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 blah, they don't see the behind the scenes stuff is the problem. And there's a lot of behind the scenes things going on with monetization, that would blow most the average viewer or whatever, would absolutely blow their mind.
So then Gizzard was kind of clarifying, and then we'll put up the last one, mastering SEO and social media. So SEO is social and or is why can't I think of it? Why am I saying social? It's not. It's
Search engine optimization.
search engine. Thank you. Search
Yeah.
engine. So this is old fashioned. Search engines are
Yep.
robots, and they need to be told stuff. They go out and look at stuff. They use there's little robot spiders to go look at the
The,
internet.
the
It reads the
spiders have
internet.
to be fed. Yes.
Yeah, the spiders read the internet, and then when the search engines say this person wants to know about little puppy dogs, then the spiders say, oh, these are all the websites we found that had little puppy dogs in them, and
And they
then
tie them all together with their web.
yep,
How
and
convenient.
the search engines then decide from that info which website to offer, and that's a simplified version of that concept. Is happening all the time on all different kinds of things. So understanding that means that if someone were to attach a picture without any description to a website and not put any text on it, they shouldn't expect much of the internet to understand what that is, because we don't have robots that are smart enough to see pictures yet to this level. So if you contrast that with someone who put down a picture with an alt text and a title and a description, and they put that in a paragraph, and they titled that page, and they put some text on that page and the coding of it, and they did that in such a way, and they created an index page on their website that told the search engines, hey, just in case you forget, here's an index of every single page on our website, and this is what they're all about. So it's nice and easy, like a menu or a table of contents for their website. They go to all this trouble. Well, that website isn't ensured it's going to be at the top of the search engines, but it's certainly going to be included when the search engines are making those decisions. The spiders are going to easily find that and retrieve it back to the search engines. So that's the big difference here, is whether you're paying attention to that stuff or not. And then social media with its hashtags is similar. Social media with its trending ability, or like the keeping your finger on the pulse of like which little dance or which little song is the one to use, and then when to stop using it. Which photos are going to go good with that. When the new song comes up, remembering which one of your vacation photos are going to be the perfect match for that in a post. That kind of stuff is kind of the same on social. So that you're putting that at the end. Is there a reason you're putting that at the end? Because it's least important, or because it's so important that you need all these other skills first?
So I don't think it's the most important. And I don't think it's the most important because of the way that algorithms and AI and platforms work nowadays. Um, that being said, it also needs to be at the end, because everything you do up until this point, to me, the SEO, optimizing things for search and social media, all deals with amplifying what you have done. So, what's the point in amplifying what you've done until you've done it? Doesn't make any sense. Like, that's the cart before the horse. If you get out and you put signs up that, you know, homemade apple pies, $10 a piece, right? And, you buy a big old kitchen and you install everything and you make a bunch of pies and you put all your signs out and you advertise on Facebook and you advertise in the yellow pages and whatever, stick up flyers on telephone poles, and you haven't even learned how to bake an apple pie yet. Like, that makes no sense. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm coming from, is get everything in place, and then learn the skills of SEO, and then utilize social media and stuff like that to amplify what you've already done. Now, that being said, we have to distinguish between search engine optimization and social media, because social media doesn't have to be solely an amplification device. Social media is also platforms, and social media could be what your project is. We're here on YouTube, and we're primarily talking about firearm content creators on YouTube. But you could be a firearm content creator creating content on some other platform, right? And so social media, while it would be at the end and be amplification and things like that, would also be part of the content creation uh, strategy and everything building up to it, right? But so, at the end, it being at the end means it's in the context to me of amplification. Now, since we're talking about SEO, real quick, SEO is predominantly the text and the little nuggets of information that algorithms and other um, robots can out there on the internet can pick up on to direct people that are looking for certain things to your stuff, right? And so, in the context of YouTube, SEO would be uh, titles, descriptions, and tags predominantly, the text stuff. Now, as far as, and this has been well documented and said and everything else, as far as SEO strictly within the YouTube ecosystem, SEO is not critically important anymore. Um, there's much more things that you need to pay attention to as far as amplification of your videos nowadays than SEO. That being said, SEO is not just a YouTube thing. SEO is any search engine out there. Anybody's it's search engine optimization, right? SEO. So any type of thing that's searching for content, right?
Any
And so by
database that
having
has to
right,
search its entries, yeah.
and so by paying attention at least to a little bit of SEO here on YouTube, while it may not benefit you on YouTube by YouTube from YouTube, it may benefit you from bringing outside traffic from some other search engine source to YouTube. So just keep that in mind. I'm not saying it's worthless on YouTube, but as far as the platform itself, it doesn't hold the same weight as it did years ago.
See, I don't think that's a factor. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I don't disagree, but I don't think that's a factor. When you're talking about two people making specific content, one of them has it and one of them doesn't, it helps the person with it. Doesn't matter if YouTube uses it on a grand scale for the battleships fighting with each other. When the individuals are fighting with each other, which is what we're doing when we're posting videos, that's where it's another thing. And like you say, it's a skill set that you want to use everywhere. So getting in the habit of using it, especially if you're going to be copying and pasting. And the thing is, you post a YouTube video and you add some hashtags, which are unnecessary, but not forbidden. Some search engine basics, like let's say your title is whatever our title is, steps to being a content creator, and then if you read our paragraph there, it says you're building content creator. So it's using that same set of words in multiple ways, but often. That's one of the strategies of search engine, is just to make sure
Right.
that the robots understand, here's the
So
phrase I'm trying to get across. But if you take that and copy and paste this to Minds or to some other platform that's new or old, you're taking all that same optimization and just copying and pasting it. So you put that stuff into YouTube. Yeah, it may not be like a massive burn, like an afterburner on YouTube anymore, which it once was, but it's certainly going to be nitrous compared to other people who are just barely putting regular gas in the tank because they're trying to save money.
yeah, well, it'd be
And I don't
higher octane, but yeah,
yeah,
I get what you're
yeah.
saying. Yeah,
And
not a
then
huge difference, but
you're
a
not going to win because of it, but you're going to beat
yeah,
other people who ain't doing it. But like I said, the big
yeah.
advantage is you get used to doing it, you include it in your mindset and your overall strategy. And I'm not saying it's crucial. It's just that it's like if you're going to do stuff, if you're going to have a workshop and you're going to be sloppy and never put away a tool, versus you're going to go to a school or something where they impress upon you the value of putting away your tools and your spare stuff every time you're done working on a project, because now you have you can way faster and you can get way more stuff done. Multiple people can use stations and it's just a more efficient way to use a shop, right? Like learning that the hard way or getting that in the beginning. I think it's one of those, you learn from people who've done this a million times. Like you can ignore this stuff and then try to apply it later when it's uncomfortable and it seems like a burden, or just put it in the beginning, understand its value, and move on. Because it's just understanding how to take care of your tools
And
correctly.
you brought up something a second ago, and I think it's really important to point out that the days of gaming SEO are pretty much over. Like
No,
putting
yeah, you just want to
putting
have it in your inventory. It's not a
putting
nitrous
black
boost.
text, yeah, putting black text in within a hidden black background that says Britney Spears, Britney Spears, Britney Spears, Paris Hilton, like that. that don't work anymore. Just so folks know.
Yeah, but I can't even imagine anybody even knows what you're talking about. So thanks for showing how old you are.
But you
Show of
do.
hands, so anybody even knows what you're talking. Yeah, I know, but that's like one person out of anybody's listening to this ever. But anyway,
Yeah.
so all right, we're going to wrap this one up. We have links out there to people that want to join us off air. We've been having some interesting off air discussions, so let us know if you're interested in that.
Yeah, last week was crazy. And how much is it to come in off air, G-Webs?
We got to know who you are and what you're doing with your project. That's about it. At this
That's
point, we just
that's
want to
true.
make sure that we're not
We
just
charge
bringing in
by the
people
project.
who aren't doing anything, but nothing. Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Hopefully, people are walking away with the value for their time. So
You definitely get. Let me put it this way with the after tat. You definitely get your value for the money. Would you agree?
well, like I say, I'm really hoping that we're not wasting people's time either. You know, that
Right.
they're getting something out of it.
Right.
We're not trying to sell you nothing, but there are some interesting things happening, and we're trying to share that information. So with that, we'll wrap this one up. What do you got coming up?
Yeah, just working on the thing, man. You know the thing.
Oh snap! Chris threw $20 in here as a super chat. Much appreciated. I'm kind of on fumes right now. That's how it goes. But I've got a paycheck coming here that will allow me to start shipping stuff out again. And thank you for that. Um, I'm going to put a. Or wait, you got the second season of the podcast coming up. You and Ghost do a chat every other Sunday.
Yeah,
It's
we had
another.
one of those. Yeah, we had one of those Sunday night. That was an entire. Speaking of mushroom burrito, thanks, Chief Fox. Was an entire food chat. It turned out to be, and I don't know that we've ever had an episode. It's all random topic, and I don't know that 3 random topics to be more concise. But I don't know that we've ever had food comes up pretty regularly, but I don't know that we've ever had an all food episode. So it was an interesting one.
Right on. So with that, we'll throw a commercial up for the store, and thanks to people that, like Clover said earlier, are subscribing to our projects through Patreon or through YouTube. Keeps our uh, websites online, helps pay for the software, and eventually, once we get going again here, we'll pay for further adventures on the tour and even more elaborate online resources. So thanks everybody for joining us. I'll throw a commercial up for the store, and we'll be back next week to talk about funding your projects.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
Oh snap! Clover booked out of here, but thanks for the another $20. Do appreciate that, and I did share some of that wealth with Clover the other day, so much appreciated. You're helping us both out.